Hey guys, so this should be a fun walkthrough. It's going to be kind of a continuation of our glass video. If you watch this, if you haven't, then I recommend you go back if you want to hear me talk about what goes in what type of glass and why you need to know. But today, we're going to go over wines. Why? Because if you do a canapé service or a dinner service, 80% of the time people add on alcohol. Specifically, they add in wines. Now, sometimes they're too busy with their event. They don't think about it. I just want wine. I just want wine. I want a red or a white. I don't care. I want wine. But it's your job as the caterer to pick a good wine. It's your job as the expert to be sure the pairing you bring doesn't taste like trash. Because you know what? You can drink any wine with any dish. It doesn't mean you should drink any wine with any dish. Because some wines simply complement a dish so much better that they play on each other's flavors and notes and terroir and all these things that it makes it better. And again, it's your job to make the experience for your client. So this is going to be a wine crash course. A little bit on my background. I did do a few years in culinary school with that included various wine classes, wine pairing classes, beer pairings, liquor liabilities, all those things. So I am by no means an expert, but I can walk you through it at least. And as previous mentioned, I am within the Cicerone program, so I'm better at beers than wines, but I still know my stuff. Now, as a quick recap here or overview, again, the goal is to match underlying flavor notes, mouthfeel, terroir, all that stuff to your dish. Here you can see our chart. I'm going to zoom and scuttle around, right, so you can read it. We're going to start on the red side here. You have bold and savory with your typical like cab, which is, we'll get into it more, like if you're going to have a thick grilled steak, usually you're going to put a cab with it, right? Seasoned steak, again, a Tempranillo is pretty good. You go elegant savory, those are your Malbecs, your Pinot Noirs, your Syrah, bold and fruity, and then you go down to, it says approachable, I would call that like drinkable. You can just sit and drink a good glass of Pinot. You can sit and drink a good glass of Merlot. Approachable, drinkable, interchangeable to a degree. Still pair it with an amazing dish and it adds to it. But those are the wines that you could just have a glass and enjoy it. You get to the really bold ones. I know plenty of people that enjoy a bold glass of wine or a dry glass of wine or a super sweet one. But the further away you move from the middle, the more you want something with it. So you have your sweeter ones and your very sweet. Once you hit dessert status, that is, well, you drink the glass of wine at the end of the meal as a dessert with a chocolate, with cake, with cheesecake, with something. Again, it's so sweet that you want something with it. And then you move to your whites, and it's kind of the same rule of thumb. Dry citrus, you have your fresh fruity, goes down to rich. Again, a chard, if you like white, Chardonnay would go with steak because it is a rich wine. So whites move a little bit different than the reds. It's the same kind of scale here. You have Riesling and Gewürztraminer. Those are German wines. They tend to be your notes of pineapple, apricot, little floral. Those pair good with chicken and pork and the lighter meats and lighter sauces. You do not want your wine to drown out your dish. You don't want your dish to dull your wine. And again, you have dessert wines again on this side, like ice wine, super sweet, late harvest. Again, Riesling and Gewürztraminer. Ooh, oh my. It's very easy to find a late harvest German wine because those grapes hold up to colder climates, but they do get very sweet. It's not a bad thing. Wonderful glass of wine, but be mindful of how sweet it is. So let's get moving through what I just walked through a bit more. We're gonna skip and scroll around. Um, colors are important because of the visual appeal of it. Again, a nice dark purple looks good next to a steak. Um, dessert wines go with sweets. Bold reds, again, you can do with soft cheese, desserts, and breads because you want to have something that can hold up the strength. You get to a medium red and some bolds, that's when you start getting to cured meats, other cheeses, and grilled meats and red meats. Then the further you move down, the more light on the flavor scale you go. So as you move to light red and rosés, that's when you start getting roasted vegetables, more breads, cured things. The further down you go, now we're starting to see the rich seafood. That is your mussels, your mollusks, your crab, sometimes shrimp, your lobster, um, scallops, anything where you see it as, the high end ocean fish, that's where it's going to be. Especially because once you cook those, if it's not just by itself, when you have lobster and crab served to you, usually it's with butter. So you want it to hold up to it. Once you move further down, your sweet whites and your dry whites. Again, as you can see now, we have the lighter fish. You have poultry worked in the mid-range. You have just vegetables, so a dry white would work with your salad mixes, still your roasted veg. And then your sparkling pairs with a lot of stuff. Again, lighter the wine, the lighter the food. With a few odd end exceptions, champagne and Prosecco. If you haven't caught my bit on the previous video, Prosecco is a champagne-like wine. All champagne is Prosecco, not all Prosecco champagne, right? Because it can only be champagne if it's from the Champagne region. Otherwise, it's just sparkling wine, therefore Prosecco. Moscato d'Asti, sparkling wine. It's not from Champagne. It is not champagne. That is why champagne, when it's on the label, usually costs double as compared to its Prosecco counterpart. Sparkling wines do very good, surprisingly, with deep fried, super fatty foods because it's bubbly. Something about the bubbles and the fat just work together. So some top pairings for those is actually deep fried. Your fried chicken, your super buttery, like movie theater popcorn, lots of salt, lots of butter, pairs really good with champagne. I wouldn't say all fried food, but those are two that really stand out. If you want the epitome of girl dinner, girls' night, all your sides, fried chicken tenders and onion rings and mozzarella sticks with champagne. That'll do it. That is like the perfect pairing because it's fatty, it's fried, it's crunchy. It goes with the sparkling. Is it the healthiest choice? No. But we're here about pairings, not necessarily good food choices. What else do we have? So you can see it here. Your medium reds, again, sometimes Merlots and Cabs fall in here compared to bold. It also goes by the wine too. Different vintages, so the year and the vineyard they come from will have a little variance to it. So read your bottle. But these two, typically, again, your fat red meat, your steaks, the beef, the bison, the venison are in there. Let's go on though. Let's check out some of the fun stuff though. Desserts. Here's 3 quick dessert options, right? You have these main 6 typically are served with desserts. Your sparklings, your slightly sweets, your light reds, rich sweets, sweet reds, and fortified wines. There's no reason why you can't have other wines with dessert, but these tend to be the top ones, again, because they're on the bottom of those scales we showed back at slide 1. There's some examples here. Chocolate ganache. It's rich, it's thick, it's bold, in your face. That's your Merlot and your Cabs. Peanut butter also goes really good. Why? It's fatty, it's rich. If you do brands that are on the sweeter end, it works even more. So your double chocolate, your peanut butter chocolate, your peanut butter, all goes really good with this. Riesling, being light, fresh, fruity, lightly floral, as it's shown here, goes with like cinnamon apple tarts, apple pies, things like that. Why? Apples are light and fresh. You make a pie or a tart, you have cinnamon and sugar added, so it's refreshing. It is light on the palate, it's not heavy, so you want a wine that's not heavy, that's just as light and fruity, and plays with that as well. Some other desserts that are good with Riesling are also things like rhubarb custard, strawberry rhubarb. Just plain rhubarb I would put elsewhere because it is bitter, it is tart, it takes a lot of sugar to make a dessert with it. But when you put strawberries in it or you make a custard with it, it still goes good with the Riesling or Gewürztraminer. Again, they're in the same German grape family. And then you have your classic white cake over here, which is not bad. It's not. It's vanilla. It's a classic. It's light. So it does good with a Moscato d'Asti. It goes good with Prosecco. Why? It's vanilla. It is just, vanilla is underappreciated. I'll go on a side rant about that. Vanilla is so very underappreciated. True vanilla is complex. It's beautiful. It's the epitome of what needs to be a dessert. A good dessert is not done until vanilla has been in it. I will argue and I will die on that hill. If there's not enough vanilla and if it's not quality vanilla, it's not worth it. So a classic white cake with the vanilla is beautiful with a bubbly, because a bubbly is light on the palate, it's light flavor. Don't get me wrong, you can have a bubbly with any dessert you want, but you want something also very light in flavor because you want to enjoy the light taste of vanilla. You want the light taste to come out and not be covered. Again, it's the rule here. You want them to play with each other, not be fighting in your mouth. If you have a Merlot or a Cab with that white cake, it's not going to be horrible, but you're just going to be tasting Merlot. Even after the wine's long gone, you're going to have a palate cleanser in between to taste the cake because that Merlot is going to coat your mouth. And it's just going to be heavy red. So keep that in mind. And then, we're going to go to one more. We're going to have fun with pizza here. Because you know what? Pizza might have its own special rules, whereas a certain type of wine is best with pizza because it has the acidity from tomatoes. Tomatoes in themselves have a certain sweetness to them, and then you have the fatty from the cheese and the bread. So as we went over in this original chart, you're going to see those middle wines would be best, but we can break it down into what is on your pizza. Now look at this. So a pineapple ham pizza, again, is going to be your Riesling because of the pineapple. That pineapple has that same acidic sweetness that citrus often has, that stone fruit has, lighter stone fruit, like apricots and peaches, not your cherries and the currants and things. Riesling would pair beautiful with pineapple, because again, there's no reason why I cannot have a glass of wine with my pizza and enjoy it. It's just picking the right wine. Prosecco with the pesto. Why? The rule of the bubbly. The fattier it is, the better it goes. Pesto is herby because there's oil that goes into the pesto. There's the fat from the cheese. This is a fattier topping. So to play on the basil and the pine nuts, you pair it with a Prosecco. It brings it out. And then we have our two reds here in the middle next to our meat-based pizzas. Pepperoni has a bit of a spice, so it's going to go more with Merlot. Spicy, dark, red meats go with the Merlot. Cured, saltier meats would go with the Sangiovese. Again, these could be a little bit interchangeable, but pepperoni with that little bite a good pepperoni has, you're going to want to go Merlot. So, outside of pizza, Zins go really good with Thai food because it's light and refreshing and just what's in it. Pizza world, Zins and shards are what you would do with a margarita pizza. Again, you play on the flavors. Then we'll leave off with like your mushroom, your veg pizza, veg and herb. That's where you bring in the Pinot Noir. Again, herby earthy, earthy dark. So you play with each other's flavors. Now, if you want to see any more wine and food pairing guides, should you be getting ready for a dinner party and you want to know what you should have at your table, I encourage you to drop a comment below. I would love to be able to answer any questions you have so you have the best dinner experience for you and your guests. And again, don't limit yourself to what wine can be. We've all seen it out there. You can do wine and Halloween candy pairings and cookie pairings, dessert pairings, pizza, pastas, anything, world foods. Get out there, explore, and really find what any bottle in the store can have to offer. And trust me, don't skip out on trying out fried chicken and butter popcorn with champagne. I encourage you to try that and let us know in the comments what you think.